Danse Adventurers. It's Todd Lyons, and I'm here again to, I guess provide some more insight into my creative process. If you've been watching any of my other videos, you realize that I was not supposed to make more than one video. I had every intention of just making like a 1-hour brain dump on Chrysogon's Coterie, which is the NPC book that I wrote, primarily for the basic fantasy role-playing game, but generally compatible with original 1981 or 80s D&D basic, and any of the retro clones that are currently in use, Labyrinth Lord or Old School Essentials or what have you. But in any case, to come up with a society with 288 people in it, which is what the book has, I found it useful to use some visualization to try to create a map, basically. My background is in social work, and when we're trying to understand a person's, how they interact with their environment and other people, we use something called an eco map, where you basically, you put a person in the center of a picture, and then all around you create objects, other people that they interact with, institutions, anything else that they're involved in that is helping either help them function as an individual or perhaps not. And where possible, you actually put some lines to describe whether that's a positive relationship or whether that's a stressful relationship, whether it's a current relationship or whether it's something that's tenuous or disappeared. And it helps you to work with that person, understanding who they are by understanding how they fit in with everything that's around them. And I used that same methodology in trying to create this society for this book, because it very intentionally was not supposed to create 288 individuals, but rather a society of individuals where some of those people are aware of other people, they're involved with other people, they have friendships, they have business relationships, they have rivalries, and there are both positive and negative vibes going on between them. So to do that, I thought I need some visualization software. You could easily do this just with pen and paper, whatever works for you. But I have the penmanship of a chicken, so it really is useful for me to use something nice, clean, and digital. And if you want to go this route, there are many different softwares you could choose from. What I would recommend, being an open source proponent, Linux user for over 20 years now, is that whatever you choose, try to get something that you can get your data back out of without it costing you an arm and a leg. Where possible, try to use open source software, free and open source software, where there's the possibility of being able to continue to have access to your data in the years ahead, and when necessary to export it, to get it to take it with you wherever it is you choose to go. And what I found helpful for this, actually, originally I used Miro, because at the time I was unaware that there was a good open source option for Miro. So I actually created the entire thing in that software before realizing that, you could only have I think it's 2 projects as of right now, and then you have to start to pay. But in any case, I liked that it was easy to use and that it was online and such. But fortunately, recently I started using something else, which took me very little time to use, and I got something identical looking. So it used to be called diagrams.net, and I think it's since changed its name. So the software now goes by the name draw.io, and that actually is a website that goes with it. And the neat thing is that you have your choice of actually using it electronically as a web app, or if you'd rather, which is what I did, you can download it. So if you type in draw.io, it takes you to app.diagrams.net, and it gives you the option where it is that you want to save your product to. And actually one of them is device, so you could download what you have, but you could also plug it into GitHub or Google Drive or whatever it is that you use as your preferred storage format for stuff. But yeah, what I chose to do is to go to diagrams.net. So I'm just going to edit this very slightly. And if you go there, you can download this as an application that you can keep on your local computer and run at your leisure and have everything truly in-house. And like a lot of wonderful, beautiful open source, it's multi-platform. So whether you're running Windows or Mac OS, or Linux, there is an option for you to download. And I see RPM, Deb, and Snap. So that's basically Debian, Ubuntu, and Red Hat, I guess, compatible systems. But there's also App Image, which is a universal thing, which should run just fine on any kind of Linux. And I don't use, actually I love Debian, but my main computer that I use most times is Solus. And App Image worked perfectly well on there. So yeah, download it, use it. It's lovely. So anyway, let's get that open. So this is the Draw.io app. And let's open an existing diagram. And there it is. Chrysogon's Connections. Let me get my mouse here too. All right. And so this is what I've got. Let's see if I can just back out just a little bit so you can see it, everything more or less all at once. There we go. So I really, and here's another thing. It was actually good of me to be able to take all of this stuff and translate it from Miro and recreate it here in very little time, like 4 hours or something like that in Draw.io. But I noticed when I was starting the book, I knew what kinds of people I wanted to write about, but I really wanted to try to make sure that I had a good representation of people in society. So as a result, the first thing that I did is I thought, well, let's make sure that there's good and that there's evil and that there's people in the middle. So if you look, you'll maybe recognize we have envy and pride and sloth and greed. And so those are the seven sins, or the 7 deadly sins, some are called. But in opposition to those sins, there are also virtues. So I also added 7 virtues in here. So you see such things as temperance and purity and kindness and patience. And in writing the biographies for the characters in Chrysogon's Coterie, I wanted to sort of just kind of have a visual indication of who the good people and who the bad people are. And where possible, just make sure that there's at least someone in each of those little bubbles. And you can't boil someone down to one virtue or one sin. But it did help me to kind of try to create a balanced society and think, well, who are these characters? What's the makeup? Who's in what pot? And that began to help me to sort of knit them together and figure out, well, who are experiencing the sorts of things which would put them in each other's orbit. And maybe those people would know each other as a result of that shared orbit. So you could use anything that you want to sort of help you think through that process. But it's good to sort of, if you're creating any sort of a society that has entities within it, something like this that allows you to put people in bubbles so that you realize, well, who's there, who do they know? It helps get you to the next step where you can start to think, oh, well, how do these people get along with each other? And how do they get along with people in other bubbles? So anyway, after that starting point of good and evil, I started to venture out a little bit into things like isolation and fear and doubt. Because there were people that were feeling, there were characters that I wanted to write that were in some of these gray zones, and I wanted to make sure that I had a little catch pot to put them into so that I remembered them and so that I could think about, well, what do I want to do with them? And specifically, you can see in some of these cases here, we have people that overlap. So isolation, it touches fear and doubt. And it made me sort of think, well, for these people that are sort of in this shared space that are feeling similar things, how am I going to differentiate each of those people. And in a few cases, like in, let's just zoom in here, you can see Posey Hayes. She kind of intersects between fear and doubt. Because that's something that could obviously happen to a person. And when I think of Posey, she's the person, she's a cleric. Okay, there's another thing. It helped me to use colors to visualize the different classes. So all the green characters are clerics, and the blue is fighters, and the yellow is magic users, and the pinky red are the thieves. So yeah, again, it helped me at a glance to be able to see what's the makeup of my society as far as who everyone is and where they are. It should come as no surprise whatsoever how many thieves are in the greed box. And this one magic user who, I'll let you read her biography, but yeah. She wanted power and she got it. And she wants more. So, but anyway, getting back to Posey, she, if I recall correctly, and I should, I know all these people, I wrote all these people, she is a cleric. She was killed in the line of duty and was brought back and is going through all kinds of basically PTSD as a result of that experience, and went from being an adventurer to deciding to take refuge back in the temple where her whole career and her life had started. A lot of these characters, they have real world problems and real world experiences. And again, as a social worker, it was very important for me to try to write people that I recognize, people from my own life. And as I said in other videos, some of these people have aspects of me. Dozens of these characters have aspects of me, which helped me to write them, really, because it's easy to inject humanity in a realistic way when these are your feelings that you're feeling, and you're sharing those feelings in the character creation process. So anyway, yeah. So I can't tell you how to write a book, but I do think that it is super helpful to be able to use something that allows you to kind of visualize, well, who are the people in the society or in these systems, and how do they interact with each other? And Draw IO it worked really well for me. Miro was fine too, but I didn't want to I'd rather use an open source thing that provides me with the power at my fingertips for free and access to my data going forward. I guess it's possible that something like this could disappear and stop being developed. It seems, though, that everything continues to have a life. Even if the developers walk away from it, there's always another developer to step into their place. And even when entire softwares dry up, there seems to be interest in other softwares coming in to basically fork that code and keep it going. And it's happened enough times in my life that I feel very confident using any sort of open source solution. And this is a beautiful one. So, I guess the last thing you should see is that, to the left is people with aspects, and then there's the good, there's the bad and the good. But then there's all the people in the huge column on the right. And I put them as variables. That's what I called them. Because they're not necessarily good, they're not necessarily bad. They're people that, as far as distinguishing themselves, they've not taken a side so substantially that they deserved, that they needed, I guess, to be put in a bubble on the left-hand side. And it's not to say that these people are all evil. Some of them are quite good. I can think of at least one guy who was in that column over there, and he gave up his career as an adventurer to go home and take care of his sick parents. So obviously he's a really good person. But he's not so good that he's going out of his way to deserve to be in the kindness or the humility or one of these positive aspects, these groups on the left-hand side, because his kindness is pretty much for his family. And that's completely justifiable. But to be on the left side of this chart, You have to distinguish yourself by really going above and beyond, outside of yourself and your immediate network. So the people that are pure and kind and have humility are people where they express it far and wide. They're not just sort of giving it out to selectively to people. It's something that just it oozes out of them. It's who they are. And in the same way, yeah, people that are in the greed and the wrath boxes over here and the pride boxes, speaking of boxes, they're completely out of the box, these people. They're just, they're on another level. So in any case, this really helped. This really helped me. And I actually expanded on this because I realized when I was copying my data, re-implementing it in Draw.io, that I had skipped out on a lot of characters. So this may not be all 288, but it's a lot closer to that than what was before. And it's because, this is the completionist in me doing this, it's because I used it as a starting tool just to kind of get going. And then once I felt confident in my writing and in my design, I stopped putting characters into it. And some of them just ended up falling into the right bucket automatically because I'd already created this framework as to like what existed and who might be where. So when I did this exercise, bringing everything over into this software here, I made a point of just kind of paying attention as I went, like, okay, well, and a lot of them ended up in the variables box. That's a lot bigger than it used to be. But so many of them actually also ended up moving into the wrath and the greed and kindness. Anyway, so this is useful. There are some other groups in here which I could talk about, but it'd be more fun if you just discovered the book for yourself. So please go to basicfantasy.org and download it. And actually, maybe by the time you see this video, it'll actually be in print. But in any case, I hope this has been helpful. I'm always trying to share useful things with you, but I'm not always sure which those things are. So, until next time.